Hey everybody, welcome to the Shrimp City Report. My name's Devin. I'm joined today with the co-host and the number one son, DJ. How you doing today?
Thank you. That's very complimentary. I appreciate it. I'm doing good. It's a little chilly outside, and I think I hear some bells on the horizon starting to come in.
I know it's the holiday season, it's Christmas season, it's going to see light season. And today we have Sarah Reynolds with us from the Charleston County Parks, and she is going to tell us a little bit about the Holiday Festival of Lights. That is the right title for it, isn't it, Sarah?
Yes, the Holiday Festival of Lights. Thank you so much for having me today.
No, it's a pleasure.
No problem. Absolutely. I mean, it is an institution, to say the least. Y'all have been running the Festival of Lights for how many years now?
We are on our 35th year. So, yeah, the history is really interesting for it, too. But it debuted in 1990.
Wow.
Okay. Wow, 1990, that must have been, I mean, frankly, going out on a limb to make a pun, a tree limb that fell down, that was right after Hugo. I mean, the audacity.
It was. And actually, that leads me into one of the interesting pieces of history about the event. If you're good, if I just get right into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So basically, James Island County Park was scheduled to be opened in September of 1989 originally.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, that's when Hurricane Hugo came. And just like everywhere in Charleston, Hurricane Hugo devastated the park. And what I've been told this before my time with the agency, it destroyed about 20,000 trees at the park, which was 90% of the park's trees.
Wow.
And so it was supposed to open in September. They had delayed the actual opening until December because of some construction issues. So what ended up happening was, obviously it took about a year of cleanup after that to actually just get the park back to a space where they would be able to open it. And then as far as the Festival of Lights goes, it was always part of the master plan of James Island County Park that they were going to have a light show the first year they were open. And the plan for the light show was to have lights and trees, like a lot of different light shows you might see throughout the country. It's like trees decorated with the lights. But, after Hugo destroyed 90% of the trees in the park, very sadly, they were trying to figure out another way to be able to, do a light show in a park that had minimal trees in it. So what I've been told, what the lore is that our staff went up to West Virginia, and there was a gentleman in Wheeling, West Virginia, who was building light displays at the time. And this is 1989, or probably beginning of 1990 when this is going on. They purchased 18 light displays from this gentleman, drove them down to Charleston, set them up in the park, and that was the original Holiday Festival of Lights. It was just a 2-mile drive through the park.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's about 3 miles. But they still had 85,000 visitors that first year with just the 18 light
Wow.
displays.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
But yes, and what happened after that, it was pretty interesting. The gentleman who ended up becoming our chief light show supervisor, his name was Rich Rabb. He has since retired. He retired in 2018. He began building. He discovered that he was an electrician and a welder, and he discovered basically that he had the tools to be able to build these light displays himself. So I think he probably had like a sit down or phone call with the guy who built some of the other displays, or some other people, some professionals, and taught himself how to build light displays. He started off very small, I've been told, like with a couple just small snowflakes. But his first actual light display is still there, the first one that he built himself. It's up on the roof of Park Center. It's like a Santa up on the roof of the Park Center building. And he built all the rest of the light displays except for those original 18. So there's over 700 light displays that he built that are in the park.
Holy
That's crazy.
That's
It would have been fascinating to see that first year compared to now, because when you go there, all the light features are so detailed, and there's so many complex pieces now since they're moving and stuff like that.
And it's so individualistic as well. I mean, stories unto themselves. Getting back to the lore and that story about meager beginnings, which you got 85,000 people. I'm still blown away by that. How long have you been working with them, Sarah?
I've been with the county park since 2010.
Okay.
I had to think about that for a second. Since 2010. So this is my 15th Holiday Festival of Lights.
Yeah. So what do you do for the county parks?
I'm the PR person. I'm the public information coordinator is my title, but essentially I'm the PR person. I talk about the Festival of Lights a lot this time of year for sure.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm kind of always interested in the logistics of something like this. Do you have a team that manages, oversees it? I mean, what kind of shop do y'all have that's putting out the new stuff?
That's a good question. So there's a small team of people that work on this event year round. And what they're doing is, they're in the off season when the festival's not going on, they're breaking things down, they're refurbishing some of the light displays. Because each light display lasts about 5 years before it needs a little bit of like reconditioning. So there's a team of people that are just working on the light displays all year long and preparing for the festival, building whatever might be new for the next year, that sort of thing. And then the main setup really starts in summertime. Some of it starts in like June, July. A lot of it starts in August as far as setting up the lights. And there are a lot of people who start working on it beginning in August. So obviously our whole park staff, that's what they're doing basically August through December. They're working on the Holiday Festival lights. But then we also have a lot of volunteers who work for us and a lot of people who are part of, we call the Campground Host Club. So there are a handful of people who go and stay in our campground at James Island County Park who actually volunteer at the Holiday Festival of Lights each year. And if you're out there, you might see some of these people actually helping out with the line on the train or like working at the carousel. And some of these people, it's really interesting. They volunteer their time there and they're staying at the campground while they're there. So it's kind of like a give and take. And it's something that's gone on for many, many years.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to
I
interrupt.
know, it really is. And these people love doing it. Like if you talk to them and they're from all over the country and they come here each holiday season.
That sounds like a Hallmark movie to me.
Yeah.
You know?
So I have to ask then, whose idea was the holiday sand sculpture contest? Because that is one of my favorite aspects of it.
I don't know when it started, but I know it's been going on for it's been going on for obviously more than I've been here for 15 years. But yeah, that's a big one. And I can't tell you, it's 50 tons of sand. And we basically we kind of put it out for essentially a bid each year for different artists to see who ends up doing it. So it varies from year to year, but a lot of the sculptors are from Florida, and they use
of course,
glue and sand.
experts.
Yeah, they're the experts, exactly.
Yeah, I remember going last year and just being amazed. I was like, they did this without a bucket and shovel.
It really is something. And if you see them out there working, it takes about a week for them to put this sculpture together. So if you go out to James Island County Park, like the week leading up to when the Holiday Festival of Lights opens, you might catch them out there working. And it's really interesting to watch them at work. It's usually like a team of people, a couple of people doing it.
Okay, so this is not just a drive around event. Can you get out and take a look and partake?
Absolutely. So yeah, the driving portion, I feel like that's a typical, light show when people go to different light shows. There's a 3-mile drive, but yeah, you can park the car in designated parking lots. We actually have 4 different parking lots you can park in this year. And there are areas that you get out and walk around, and we have gift shops. We have sand sculpture, like you said. There is a carousel with animals on it. It's kind of a very classic carousel that you might see like a fair or something. We have our portable climbing wall is set up in the park. And then we have Santa. Santa is one of the really big draws of this event. A lot of people like to go out and see Santa there and get their pictures taken for their cards or, whatever the case may be. Then we also have the festival train, which is very popular. I have 2 little kids. It's their favorite thing out there. It drives through other areas of the lights, and you go by the lake and you see all those lights there. There's really a lot more in addition to that too. We have like interactive light displays where you can push buttons and it changes the colors on trees. And so there's really a lot more. I tell people all the time, if you don't park your car and get out, you're missing like half the event.
Yeah, that sounds cool to me. I mean, walk around, all that stuff, have some hot cocoa and marshmallows. And how about on the train? Is it just is it like a kiddie train, or can guys that are 240 pounds go on them?
No, it's open to anyone. It's open to anyone. We also have an accessible train if that's something that someone needs, if someone uses a wheelchair and they need access for that. But no, it's open. You'd be surprised. It's not a kiddie train. There are a lot of adults that do it with no kids. I think the last time I went, it was actually mainly adults on the train.
Yeah.
So it's not just a kiddie ride for sure. I mean, I would say the carousel and the climbing wall a little bit more for the kids,
Right.
but the train, adults love the train as well.
No, I'd probably turn the climbing wall over if I got on it. So, you mentioned accessibility. I did take a look at the website a little bit over the past week or so. You seem to have some fine accommodations for folks that are challenged in that aspect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we've really tried really hard as an agency overall to take a look at all of our events and all of our parks and see what we can do. It's really like a long-term project that we're working on because a lot of our parks, including James Island County Park, are older facilities. And so we're really having to like update a lot of things, but we've made a lot of strides. Like I said, the train, we have ramps that go up to the second floor of our park center. So to make that easy, we have accessible parking in certain areas. They reserve only for people who need it. There's a lot of ramps and pathways that are pretty accessible as well. So that's something we've really worked on doing.
And it's nice that the light show itself also you can view from your car. So it's easier to do accommodations. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can absolutely stay in your car and you get to experience a lot of it for sure.
Speaking of cars, I assume there's a fee for entrance. How does that work? Is it charged by the car or is it the individuals or how does that work?
It is charged per vehicle. And so we have rates our standard car rate is up to 15 people in a vehicle. So you can pack your car. And I remember first year I went to the Festival of Lights, I was actually in college. I remember that's what we did. Didn't have a lot of money. We just brought like 10 kids in the car with us, drove around. But people do like to do that. But any bigger than that, if that's more of like a commercial vehicle, so that has a higher price. But the way our pricing works, and this is something we changed last year, we have like tiered pricing on different evenings. And the reason we do that is we're essentially charging a higher vehicle rate on the nights that are typically more heavily trafficked. So the nights when there's going to be lines and getting in and heavier traffic and more lines like waiting for Santa and the train and all that, we're charging a higher rate because we're kind of hoping to even out the attendance levels throughout the season to help traffic.
That makes sense. Speaking of, I guess, adding to that traffic question, is there a limit to how many times a car can go around and look at the lights?
No, it's open every night from 5:30 to 10, and you can keep driving as many times as you want. I see people driving. Yeah.
Listen, it puts the kids to sleep. It would drive around in circles like that. So
it does. Once you get in, you can drive around as many times as you want. And, it's easy to miss things the first time, and then you can get back around and see them again.
Yeah.
That is cool. And I like the 15 people in a car. I mean, that's great for like churches and old folks' homes and stuff like I'm sure it's such an event that they want to go see and get out and do.
Speaking of which, we mentioned with the amount of people we're like on the first ever lights show. What is it? What do you average nowadays with the amount of people coming in?
Per year, it's about 200,000 people per year, or about, I think it's like around 60,000 cars per year. Yeah, so that
is crazy. That is amazing.
I assume nobody volunteers for traffic control, do they?
We do. Yeah. So our agency, as an agency, all of our divisions will pitch in different ways for the Holiday Festival of Lights because this is our big event of the year across the park system for sure. But we do have nights where, like some of our staff, so like myself in marketing and other divisions, people who work in things like finance and HR might go out and work the festival. They might do things like helping set up the lights like earlier in the season, but then also, like working at the gift shops or helping at the gate. So everybody kind of pitches in, but parking is one of those things. Yeah. Parking is a hard one. Okay, those people, they work hard and it's dark and it's cold and you're trying to flag people down. Yeah. Yeah, and the gate's tricky too, but we've done a lot of work there. Going back to the traffic, we've done a lot of work with our gate to try to speed up the entry process over the years. So we encourage people to buy tickets online in advance. That way, you can basically just have your phone be scanned at the gate, and it speeds up your admission process, and you get a discount if you do that.
Okay, so that does make a lot of sense. Do people, if they are going over there on an impulse, have the option to get a ticket on the way in?
Absolutely, yes. It will be you get a $5 discount if you buy online in advance. But if you don't want to do that, or if you can't do that, and you just, like you said, just want to show up, you're more than welcome to come in, of course. And it'll just be $5 extra.
If anybody has a membership to the county parks, is there any discount for them?
Yes, if you have the Gold Pass, if you have the Charleston County Parks Gold Pass, which is around $90 for a year, you get one free vehicle admission per year. So you can redeem that at the gate once per year.
Okay, cool. That's a nice perk. I see that, the city or the county, I'm sorry, and the James Island Park are the hosts. Do you work in sponsors, and do you have some that have been with you for a long time?
We do. So we have a title sponsor for the event. And then each year you'll see as you're driving around, a lot of our light displays are sponsored individually by businesses and other organizations. You'll see the signage as you drive around. So, and it ranges from everything from banks to, local mom and pop businesses here to organizations like the South Carolina Aquarium. So it really varies. And there are a lot of organizations that have been with us for many, many years. And so our sponsorships do open up on occasion, but there's a lot of really coveted sponsorships. A lot of organizations will want a certain display and they won't give it up. And
Yeah. So I know we should probably cover our base and ask this because I know a lot of our listeners are probably going to want to know this. What is the best way to make sure that you're going to be able to visit Santa or have the kids visit Santa?
I'm a good person to ask about this. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to ensure you're going to be able to visit Santa, I would recommend getting there early. The festival opens at 5:30, but you can get there a little bit prior to that, especially on busy nights. They'll open up the gate a little early. What you do what I would recommend doing, this is what we do as a family, is just when you get into the park, you'll still get to see some of the lights, but go ahead and park in the first parking lot that you're able to park into when you get there. Go ahead and go over to the Santa's Village area. Santa, actually, there's an elf who will have a booth set up in front of Santa. You can check in with that elf, and the elf will take your phone number, and they'll put you in a virtual queue. Yeah, this is something a little new.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. So you don't have to go waiting around for like 30 minutes or so. Yeah,
exactly. And what you can do, it's a virtual queue. So just like, like Disney World or whatever, you can go ride the carousel or go do something else for a little bit. And then they text you when it's your turn to come back and get in the actual line to go see Santa. So it really makes the most, and you don't have to worry about kids standing there losing their patience and getting dirty or whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, definitely get there early. You can check in and then go do something else in the meantime while you're waiting in the virtual queue. So that's a great thing we instituted in recent years as well.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. I suppose the festival's evolved over the years. Do you guys meet throughout the year, not just maintaining it and making sure it's going to go off without a hitch? How often do you think about new features or improvements, process improvement, whatever? Is that an ongoing thing?
We definitely think about improvements every year, all the time, all throughout the festival while it's going on. We're always assessing, like what's going well, what could be improved for sure. Traffic is definitely, and getting people in has been one of our top priorities for improvements over the last 10 years, just because, we hear from neighbors, about the traffic. So we've taken a lot of strides, put a lot of time into figuring out strategies to get the traffic to move more quickly. We even added in a third entry lane, and I forgot to mention this earlier. We added in a third entry lane into the park last year. So there used to only be 2, and now there are 3 lanes to get in once you get to a point. That is one thing we've really worked on in recent years. Just various features, like I mentioned, like the line for the virtual queue for Santa, figuring out what's working best as far as logistics for getting people in and then what they're doing when they're in the park. Obviously, we're always working on new ways and moving things around and trying to work on, making things more easy to find in the dark because, at James Island County Park, it can be kind of hard when you're out walking around. Right. So we're constantly looking at everything going on at this festival, trying to figure out ways to improve it. And then, of course, with the lights, we usually have some sort of new light feature every year, but we're also working on changing out a lot of the light bulbs to LED bulbs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So they're brighter, they use less electricity, and that's something we've worked on recently too. But yeah, we're always working to improve and do what we can with the event.
And you mentioned you had volunteers. I know it may be too late in the game for anybody that's listening, but if anybody wanted to volunteer, how might they go about that?
You can go to holidayfestivaloflights.com. There's a lot of contact information on there. You could call our You could call our park office. You could call our Charleston County Parks call center. There are email addresses on there. We are always looking for volunteers. We have a great volunteer program, actually, that if you commit a certain number, and I'm not sure what that number is, but if you commit a certain number of volunteer opportunities, you basically get the equivalent of like a gold pass admission into a park.
That's cool.
And you get a pass that gets you into other area attractions. Like your ID will get you into other area attractions as a higher level volunteer. So it really is a great program. And in addition to the Holiday Festival of Lights, there's, if you're looking for year-round volunteer opportunities, we have other opportunities at our other parks too and other events.
I guess we'd be remiss not to do a quick hitter about how many parks do you all have and what kind of parks are they?
So it kind of depends on what you define as a park. But we have,
okay.
Obviously, I can kind of run through some of them. We have...
How about some highlights?
Some of the highlights, okay.
Yeah.
Charleston County Parks, we have, of course, James Island County Park, Palmetto Islands in Mount Pleasant, Wanamaker County Park in North Charleston. Each of those also has a water park within it that runs seasonally. And then we also have 3 beach parks. So we have Beachwalker on Kiowa, Folly Beach County Park, Isle of Palms County Park. We have 2 piers, the Folly Beach Pier and the Mount Pleasant Pier we operate those.
Wow.
And we have McLeod Plantation on James Island, which is a little bit one of our newer facilities, a Caw Interpretive Center in Ravenel. And we have a skate park on the peninsula called Skate Charleston.
Oh, that's y'all. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's growing. We have a couple other, Laurel Hill County Park in Mount Pleasant, Stono River County Park as well, and a few other ones that we run some boat landings. So yeah, we have a really big staff actually, and it's interesting because a lot of our staff that works at some of the parks, such as like the beach parks, will come over to the Festival of Lights and work in their off season. Sure. So it really is like an agency effort, the Festival of Lights.
You really have a big footprint, and you're so important to Charleston and the Low Country, frankly. Because it's the county, and the county is pretty long, like from tip to tip. It takes up a lot.
It really is. Yeah, we have, like I mentioned, we have Ravenel and we have an undeveloped property out in like McClellanville. So just to show the reach of how far those are, I know I'm driving. I put a lot of miles on my car.
Okay, so let's go over the hours and any other information like the website, social media, all that before we say our goodbyes.
Sure. Our hours, the Holiday Festival of Lights, it's open every night through December 31st. Santa is there until December 23rd, and that's every night. So Christmas Eve, Christmas, and including New Year's Eve will be open, and it's 5:30 to 10 p.m. each night. And our website is holidayfestivaloflights.com, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram under Charleston County Parks.
I have one other question.
Sure.
It just came to me. Because you mentioned your hours and it goes until 10 o'clock. Is there like a last call that is broadcast to try to get people out of the park?
I mean, they do. So our staff will kind of like, they start shutting things down, like the gift shops and Santa a little bit early just to get people moving back towards their cars. But, our staff will kind of ride around on the golf carts and check and see, who might still be out. But yeah, they do a lot of work at the end. You don't bust
out a snowplow to just go en route to the light show.
For sure. And I actually didn't mention this before, but it also takes an hour for them to turn on all the lights before the show starts.
Wow.
So it takes pretty much that to turn everything off at the end too before, after everyone's out. So it's a long night.
That is such an interesting fact. Okay.
Yeah, they're all done by different breaker boxes. If you're at the Festival of Lights, you can probably spot some of them. It's individual like switches that have to be turned on and off. It's crazy.
Well, we certainly look forward to getting out there this year. And now we have a little insider info on how to go see Santa and what's the best time to drive over there. We really appreciate it, Sarah. That was very informative. And I kind of like the history that we got to get into.
Yeah,
DJ?
That was really fun.
Yep. DJ, you got any saved bullets? Or you have any saved questions?
All good.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that and appreciate everyone. And you said it's holidayfestivaloflights.com.
Yes.
Okay. All right, everybody. We are going to wrap it up for the week. We will see you next week on the Shrimp City Report, shrimpcityreport.com. And everyone have a wonderful holiday season. Thanks.
Thank you.